All right, hello. I hope you've all been well. I know it's been a little while since I've done anything in regards to Persona or Persona news, but the thing is, there just really wasn't anything to talk about. I mean, I won't be completely honest. There just wasn't a whole lot going on. But today, I actually have something interesting. So over on Twitter, Faz tweeted this out, this Persona 4 RE.jp Japan domain name that Atlus has registered. So if you don't know, domain names typically are registered for games and whatnot that you either plan to use in the future, or you're in the middle of development and you just want to be sure to grab the name just so that nobody can take it or whatever. Although I assume legally they could probably do something about that. But yeah, I didn't think there was anything worth talking about for quite a while. I didn't want to make a bunch of speculatory type videos, even though this kind of is. But yes, there is a Persona 4 remaster, I assume is what that's going to be. If you see right here at the top, it says domain name p4re.jp, Japan, obviously. So there is a domain name registered for a Persona 4 remake, right? We assume it's going to be called Remake. We don't know for sure. I mean, we have Persona 3 Reload. It wasn't called Remake, so it could be a different name. We don't know that for sure, but that has been registered. Now, you might be thinking, bro, it's just a name register. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. And you're not technically wrong. A lot of times, game developers will register names ahead of time. I believe we saw, I don't know, in all the 1,000 videos I have here, I have like basically 1,000. There's a ton of domain names that like Atlus has registered. I think there's Persona 6 through like 9 that they have registered. There was the P5A or whatever it was called that was also registered. That ended up not being a game or anything. And no, it's not Persona 5 Animation. It was called P5A. A lot of people thought it was going to be called like Persona 5 Akechi or something like that. But it ended up being nothing. We didn't even get a game. So who knows? But we also saw things like P5T, which was a domain name that they had registered that did come out. That was Persona 5 Tactica. We also saw P3R as well, which is, Persona 3 Reload. So it's not entirely crazy to assume that certain things like this do mean they're going to do something. Companies do like to go ahead of time and register domain names, but this is a little different. When it comes to Atlus and their track record, from what we had seen, Persona 3 Reload had a domain name, and then a couple months later, it was announced. We actually were able to see the direct, I guess like inner business of what was going on in Atlus just right there in front of us, right? So they registered the actual domain name for it. A couple months later, they announced that it was an actual thing. So this could be something real. We actually should try and keep our eyes peeled for a Persona 4 remake. Now again, I wouldn't normally be picking out just domain names, registries. You'd be crazy to see even like Pokemon, like just registers tons of domain names just so that in case something happens, or they even want to think about doing something with the game later, they do it. But just with what we've seen from Atlus, this looks like it could be something pretty legit, right? A Persona 4 remake is also not entirely crazy for us to think for them to do. They did Persona 3, 4 would be next. Now, here begs the question, is this something that needs to happen? Now, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Persona 4. I would even go as far to say that I think it's the best Persona game in terms of characters and maybe even story, just in general. Now, I like a lot of the Persona games. I like all the Shin Megami Tensei games. But in terms of what a remake is, making a game a more modern platform, this game felt like the most unneeded remake. So I guess we get to the portion of this video where I'm going to talk about my thoughts and feelings, having gamer thoughts about what we have here. I think this is the game that least needed it. Persona 4 Golden was so great. So great. That game, I streamed to it all here on the channel. By the way, like and subscribe. I have new emotes, by the way, too. So if you want to join the streams and see all the cool new emotes and whatnot, I mean, go ahead. Persona 4 felt like the game that was like the most succinct. It felt like the most together. If you didn't know, like, they had Persona 3, the Persona 4 was running off the same exact engine. They got to do basically all the little updated things that they wanted to during Persona 4 Golden, right? They got to adjust everything and have it be, exactly kind of what they wanted it to be. The card system was changed, even having a expanded story, more confidants and whatnot. Persona 4 Golden felt the most completed game out of all of them. And then maybe now you have Royal, right? Which is like 130 or 40 hours if you want to 100% the game. But Persona 4 Golden, in terms of like what a remake could do for it, it's just graphics. I mean, like, think about it. Would you want them to change any other parts of Persona 4 Golden? No. And we don't even know if this necessarily means Persona 4 Golden, right? For what we had seen, we had a Persona 3, we had Persona 3 Reload. That wasn't exactly everything that Persona 3 FES had. And we had seen that. It wasn't everything. We had certain things cut out. The answer, for instance, wasn't there. Now, it's a little bit different. That's a whole other kind of offshoot, not really a DLC, I guess, but it's a whole separate kind of story, right? But they didn't include it with Reload. You had to purchase it. At least I'm pretty sure you had to. I didn't jump into that. I needed to play the base game. I don't know. I quit out on Persona, but I'm kind of back. I think once we have stuff like this, something real to kind of talk about, that's how I want to do things. So in terms of like whether or not this game needed to be made, I would say like no. I much rather have seen something like the first Persona games or anything else be done. But that's also a thing here too, right? Is this even done in Atlus? Like, is this done in-house, right? A lot of people like to say, we just want Persona 6. This is halting Persona 6, I guess, development time, right? But the thing is, whether or not this is done in-house at Atlus from the Persona team, that's what matters, right? If we see this game and it's being done by a third party, which they have done at times for some of their other remake / remaster type stuff. I can't remember what Persona 3 was, Reload. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure that was done. I think that was done in-house, but I can't remember for sure. But Persona 3 is a game that I think very much needed the revamp. I think Reload was really fun and cool to play. Again, Golden, I don't think so as much. The game, for the most part, is pretty good. Again, I think the only thing they could really do to this game is just make it look better. And I'm not trying to get hate for saying this. I don't think it's like a matter of like, we don't need it. I just think there could have been other Persona titles that they could have done that would have felt far different, right? Games that needed completely revamped game mechanics and quality of life updates, like the older, Persona 1, the Persona 2 duology. That would have been a better, I think, route to have taken. But I understand it, right? Persona 4 is such a beloved, entry in the franchise, right? I think a lot of people started playing. Persona 4 Golden technically was where I started playing as well. I didn't start making content on it or anything, but that technically was the first Persona game I had ever played. Not the first one I beat, but it's still a very great game. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to play this thing to death. I'm going to love this remake. It's just a matter of whether or not that should have been the one that they went for, right? And like I said, this might not even be cutting down on any other development time for the studio themselves. If this is done by a third party, it just doesn't even matter. But if it is done in-house, then yeah, it is going to be halting some type of development on something else that they could have been doing, right? So, I don't know, kind of begs the question here. What do you guys think about this? This seems like a very legitimate thing that's probably going to happen. Keep our eyes peeled. I'll keep you updated on anything in regards to us getting more information about this. I'm sure now that the sort of train started, people are going to be hounding to try and find any little crumb that they can for this. So we'll have to just wait and see, guys. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is a good thing, a bad thing? I think it's overall a good thing, right? But again, they could have probably done something better. But that's my personal opinion. I don't hate Persona 4. I think it's going to be really cool. Like I said, I'm going to be a day one buyer. I'm going to be playing it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Consider subscribing, clicking the bell to be notified whenever more stuff like this comes out. I'll be following news on this. Again, I think I should be following the beefy stuff. I'm not going to try and do big, huge, speculatory type videos. Just knowing the track record for how this stuff is with their domain names and what typically happens after. That's why I felt like I needed to make this video. But I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching.